Alafia family, it is yours truly, Ifaremi Olosun, and today I am coming to you to discuss ancestral veneration. But before I get started, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button, like, and share this video so that I can continue to deliver divine messages and information to all who may find this information useful. So what exactly is ancestral veneration? So ancestral veneration is the act of routinely and ritualistically paying homage and uplifting the spirit energies of your ancestors who transitioned or those who were close to you in your life and those who helped you on your journey during the time that they walked the earth. We do so by setting up a sacred space for them, by giving offerings of things that they enjoyed and things that they like to attract and to invoke their spirit energies and to call them forth. We do so by saying their names. We do so by incorporating them into our way of life. We do so by teaching our children their names, by telling their stories, by hosting community events and festivals and celebrations to honor those who have come before us. And so with that being said, let's go right on ahead and get started. I want to begin by talking a little bit about the history and origin of ancestral veneration for the Yoruba path, Isheshe, Yoruba traditional spirituality. So during my time in Nigeria, some may know, and for those who do not know, I am initiated into Ifa, Oshun, Obatala, and Egbe, and I went to Nigeria on and off for the course of 7 years, and I was able to observe and study firsthand how it was carried out and practiced culturally and within the community. So what I noticed that jumps out to me right away that I just want to talk about and share with you, and we can then take this information and see how we can apply this within the diaspora, within our families and communities in order to carry on our original way that is in alignment with our DNA, that is in alignment with our coding, that will help us as melanated beings to evolve and ascend. So, number one, in Yoruba land, the ancestors, yes, they are called to uplift their names, to raise their spirit energies so that they can guide and assist their descendants. But the ancestors are also the Egungun, and which Egun translates to bone, symbolizing that the ancestors go from flesh in carnal form and is represented by the bones, the spirit realm, the spirit becomes spirit. And Egungun is the collective group of one's lineage, of their ancestors. And so in Yoruba land, the Egungun, the cults, the societies, the groups, the leaders who are the head of ancestral veneration within Yoruba land, they are also called in times of political or social disagreements. The ancestors are called and invoked and worked with to restore balance, order, to bring discipline and honor to the communities. This is done so through Egungun festivals. Egungun festivals are typically held annually for the overall Yoruba land. They're usually held between May and July. Festivals may be held personally or individually based on one's family's lineage. And so during these masquerades, the ancestors come out and one dresses in regalia to represent the spirit energy of the ancestors, to harness and to channel the spirit energy of one's ancestors. And they come out, there's dancing, there's drumming. The regalia also represents the wealth and prestige of one's lineage based on the type of cloth that is worn, the number of stripes, and the overall presentation of the masquerade. The masqueraders sometimes come out with something that is called an atori, a whip, which represents the ancestors' role within the community, within the lineage, which is to, again, to reestablish balance, order, discipline, to make sure that as the descendants, we are upholding the ancestral name, bloodline, and lineage. They come out to clear all types of shenanigans, mess, arguments, disputes, anything that can be offsetting or disturbing the evolution of the bloodline. So that is what the ancestors are invoked, called for. Another reason that the ancestors are called forth in Yoruba land is for burial rites. And so here in the line of work that I do have a lot of clients who come to me wanting to know, is there particular burial rites or ways to traditionally that we are supposed to help our loved ones to cross over? Well, yes, there is. The leaders of the Egungun cults come out because they are trained as to how to properly lay one to rest. That is another time the Egungun is called out in times of transition in order to make sure that one's spirit and soul is laid to rest and that they are able to transition peacefully into the realm of the ancestors. So these are things that we can begin to apply here and use here in the diaspora to uplift and raise our ancestors, to help heal our communities and rid our communities of crime, of violence, of hatred, and so on. While in Yoruba land, another thing that I was able to observe is they actually build ancestral houses or ancestral homes in which they house and bury their ancestors within the ancestral or within the family house. So when they want to give ancestral offerings, when they want to communicate with their ancestors, they are able to simply go to the family house to give offerings. If there isn't a family house, alternatively, they will have a land that their ancestors are buried on, a particular area in land that they can go to give those offerings, which I think is beautiful. While here, many of us aren't fortunate enough to be able to do that, we can go to our ancestors and honor them through setting up an ancestral altar or, of course, their burial sites. The point is to be able to maintain the integrity and the root of our traditions, but to position it and evolve it in a way so that we can apply them here and continue to benefit from the traditions. Something else that I want us to take away from a bit of the root and culture of ancestral veneration in Yoruba land is lineage orikis. So each lineage will establish a praise song that is called an oriki to invoke the spirit energies of the ancestors during time of hardships, during time where if a child is sick or a family member is sick and they need healing, during time of war, strife, trials, or tribulations. One can sing a specific oriki or family song that will call out and that may include the names of ancestors that can come forth to guide the family or individual through a trial time. So we too here can begin to establish things like that can be passed on from generation to generation, a hidden code message song to invoke our spirit energies, to invoke the spirit energies of the ancestors, to call forth the ancestors in time of need. The ancestors are our first point of contact when wanting to convey our desires, our wishes, our wants, our dreams, our messages, our prayers to the other realm. We are energetically bonded and connected to our ancestors through our blood, through the blood that we share. And so We want to begin to work with our ancestors because they are going to be able to take our messages, our intentions, because they are already in the ancestral realm and closest to the realm of the invisible, where the Orisa dwell, where the higher divinities dwell, and where Olodumare dwell. There is a sacred Odu Ifa that many are familiar with that says earth is but a marketplace, but heaven is our home. And what that speaks to me and says is that we have to keep in mind that we are only here for what in the universal time is but a blink of an eye. So transitioning is inevitable, which is why it is imperative for us to learn these cultural methods and ways to preserve our memory, to carry on our lessons, our experiences through keeping our energy alive, keeping our ancestors' energy alive through ancestral veneration. If you want to dig a little deeper and find out more about the Egungun and ancestral veneration, you want to research and read up on the sacred Odu texts of Otur Ponmeji, Ogbe Sa, Ogbe Osa, Okaran, Ogunda. These are just a few Odu that specifically talk about the Egungun and ancestral veneration that can provide a little more deeper and in-depth insight for you. Yes, here in the diaspora, we have to do things a little differently. And so one of those things is that we may not have a family house. We may not be able to easily always go to a particular area that all of our ancestors are buried. So we set up ancestral altars. And so I want to give you an overview of how to go about setting up an ancestor altar. So the first step is cleansing. You want to cleanse your home, your entire home, by smudging, floor washes, wall washes. You want to cleanse the energy of the space that you're going to invite your ancestors into. After you have cleansed the home and the ancestral altar space that has been chosen and set aside as a space that people will not be coming in and out of regularly, disturbing the spirit energy of the ancestors or desecrating that space. You want to choose a space that is set off and set away from a lot of traffic. And so once you have set up that space, you have established that space, you have cleansed your home. Next comes consecration after cleansing. There are particular ewe, methods, things, invocations that one uses in order to consecrate the space. I will be hosting a virtual video lesson to describe and demonstrate how to set up an ancestral altar step by step, and all of the things that I am mentioning now. So cleansing, consecration. You want to cleanse this space and protect the space so that no other spirit energies are coming through besides your benevolent, keyword, benevolent ancestors. After cleansing, consecration comes invocation and libation. You want to be able to properly invoke and call forth the spirit energies of your ancestors through special incantations, words, and processes that will call forth your ancestors. After cleansing, consecration, libation, invocation comes communication. You have to be able to communicate with your ancestors. The whole point of this is to be able to open up a channel, a portal through which the spirit energies of the ancestors can come through us, to be able to be able to deliver divine messages that can help us get through, that can help us to rise, that can help us to evolve, that can help the family to heal, repair. So you want to be able to go to your ancestors with questions and to receive answers. And so in Yoruba tradition, if one is not initiated, or rather one is initiated, you can do so by using what we call obi, kola nut, which I also teach and train how to divine and communicate with your ancestors through using kola nut, obi. And so obviously on this platform, we are oftentimes not the only ones listening and watching. And there is a reason that our traditions were oral traditions for so long. So I'm very careful not to divulge too much information for all eyes and ears to see about these sacred practices. If you want to learn more, definitely be sure to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter to be aware and to be ready so you don't have to get ready for different lessons, for different events that I will be hosting to teach and share with those who are called to me and chosen to receive this sacred knowledge and information. You can check me out on Instagram at Ifaremi.Olosun. You can check me out on Facebook at Ifaremi Olosun and Twitter, Ifaremi_Olosun. So I want to quickly go through some questions, common questions that people always tend to ask me. Do you put every ancestor on your altar? Should you put ancestors on your altar that you may feel may have not been upstanding during their walk in life? So the answer to that is a big No. So when I'm working with my ancestors, I will always say I call upon the spirit energies of my ancestors who are benevolent, whose names I know and whose names I do not know. And I always use the term benevolent because you want to make sure that you are calling the spirit energies of your ancestors that are not still harboring any residual energy from bad characteristics, attributes, or behaviors that they walk with while here on earth. You want to invoke spirit energies, the spirit energies of your ancestors who are not harboring bad energy, from how they may have transitioned. If so, if they transitioned in a very violent way. Overall, you want to pay attention to how you feel. Pay attention to what comes to you when you call on the spirit energy of that ancestor. Usually our gut, our intuition will let us know, no, this is not an ancestor that we want to put on our altar. Another common question that people often ask me is, can you put someone on your ancestral altar that is not blood related? So my answer to that is yes. The person does not have to be a blood relative. There are also things called spiritual connections. Those who we cross paths with that during the time that they walked the earth had powerful energy. During the time that they walked the earth, they uplifted and elevated others. Another thing that I'm often asked is, what if I don't know my father's lineage? What if I don't know my mother's lineage? How can I call on those ancestors? I was adopted, or I'm just no longer in communication with them, or I never had access to them to learn their names. How can I connect with those ancestors? Again, it's always about the power of the word and the intention. So you will call on the names of the ancestors that you do know. And you can also just say benevolent ancestors whose names I do not know from my mother's lineage, benevolent ancestors whose names I do not know from my father's lineage. Come forth. Come forth in order to make your names known. Guide me in the direction that I can discover and uncover who you are, your names, who you were, the lives that you lived. And the ancestors will begin to present themselves to you. Trust me, by divine design. Once you begin working with your ancestors, they will come through in order to protect your home. Their spirit energies, the spirit energies of your benevolent ancestors will be present, guarding and protecting your home from intrusions, from other bad energies or unwelcome spirit energies and entities. They will begin to appear to you in dreams and visions. And if you are spiritually imbued, very spiritually imbued, and if your third eye is really open, they sometimes, if you can handle it, may even come through to you face to greet you in love and to guide you and to let you know that their spirit energies are with you each and every day. And so, with that being said, I just wanted to share with you some of the beautiful history and culture, some of the ways that the ancestors are honored in the source land, the overview and process of how you can begin to work with your ancestors, and to let you know and to make you aware of the upcoming virtual lesson that I will be hosting as to how to step by step set up an ancestor altar, consecrate the ancestral altar, invoke the spirit energies of your ancestors, and how to communicate with them through OB divination. So I just want to leave you with love, speaking love, light, abundance, riches, wealth, healing, ascension, elevation, balance be, balance be, balance be, and may you continue to rise into your power.